all-knowing and all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 81. A black extended Lincoln slowly drove into the manor and soon came to a stop at the gate of the villa. A tall and burly figure dressed in a white suit got out of the car, walked to the door and knocked on the door. "Chen, I'm Jinhee. I have something to talk to you about," Jin said in a deep voice. "Come in." Chen Tian had already come to the hall when he sensed the vehicle coming. He watched as he walked in the door expressionlessly, and Jinhee next to him, his eyes narrowed unconsciously. Chen Tian could sense that the other party's mood seemed to be a little unstable, with all gloomy and irritable. "What's the matter with coming here so late?" he asked directly. When Jinhee heard this, his expression became more and more gloomy, and his slightly closed eyes flashed with displeasure. "0. I have sent someone to bring back those people you mentioned. Quote, it's just, at a great price." He said this pause. AHCC turned his head to stare at Chen Tian's eyes, his brows furrowed slightly. "Chen, you didn't tell me, those people are mutants. Quote, their resistance led to the death of several of my people, and coupled with the pursuit of the border police, it almost made me show my stuffing." Jinhee said a lot in one breath. His words were fierce, and the dissatisfaction in his heart was obvious. For whatever reason, he was willing to trust Chen Tian. But I didn't expect that when the latter let himself do things, he actually hid such an important matter about mutants from himself. This sense of distrust, coupled with the fact that interests were indeed threatened, made him very sad. So after finishing the things that Chen Tian explained, he went to the other party for the first time and explained the situation. "As long as you do what I say obediently, there will be no problems with our cooperation." Chen Tian looked at Jinhee and said without hurry. He noticed that the latter once again became a little hostile to himself because of this incident. Immediately added, "Do you think that the lives of a few of your subordinates cannot be exchanged for your family?" Jin fell silent when he heard this. In my heart, I felt that Chen Tian's words were very reasonable. As long as you can exchange for your own family, these prices are nothing to pay now. Moreover, he originally thought so he would only complain when he brought back the group of little mutants and fulfilled Chen Tian's instructions. Although Jinhee had some dissatisfaction in his heart, he had no doubt that Chen Tian could resurrect his family. "I still need you to do the next thing for me," Chen Tian continued. When Jinhee on the other side heard this, he just nodded but felt inexplicably resistant. Chen Tian glanced at him, and his psychic ability was activated, erasing the other party's anger for himself because of the affairs of the little mutant people. Next second, Jin did not hesitate to nod, and his face was even a little excited. "Yes, I have no problem if you need anything. As long as you let my family come back. Say, what do you want me to do next?" Chen Tian immediately said, "I need you to go to the south coast, find some people living at the bottom of the sea, and then tell me the clues." Quote, South coast, people living at the bottom of the sea. Jinhee was a little puzzled when he heard Chen Tian's request, but he didn't say anything more. Even realized that the person he asked him to find this time was also not a simple human being. But he still nodded without hesitation. "Okay, I see, you just wait for my good news." Quote, then, Jin continued to ask, "What about the little mutants who just picked up? You first arrange for them a place where they don't have to come into contact with other people, and then I'll go to them." Chen Tian said, "Okay, listen to you." Kim nodded in agreement. After that, he didn't stop much and left the villa where Chen Tian and them lived. This psychic ability is really perverted. Chen Tian looked at the other parties departing back and smiled. It is so simple to make a person obey his words. Mumbling. He later realized that his psychic ability seemed to be much stronger, and there was a tendency to become stronger. Maybe it's related to the Krypton bloodline. Psychic ability plus the super brain that comes with Krypton's bloodline is naturally a great bonus. It's a good thing anyway. Thinking, Chen Tian stood up, stretched out, turned around and walked into the room, ready to rest. Although his body does not feel tired, after experiencing so many things in a row, his spirit needs to slow down. The other side. This Chen, still don't believe me. Still don't tell me what his purpose is in doing these things. Jinhee returned to the car, constantly venting his dissatisfaction with Chen Tian. Don't tell yourself anything. Where is this treating him as a partner? It's all about using servants. However, although Jinhee was complaining in his mouth, he had already begun to think in his mind at the same time, what Chen Tian handed over to him next, what preparations he should make. In order to do it for him. "Boss, I think you'll want to see this." Then, the assistant on the side turned his head and handed over a tablet. When Jinhee heard this, he looked over, and his face suddenly changed. What was displayed on the tablet was the picture of Chen Tian's forehand tearing and hating. This Chen actually has such ability? Jinhee was surprised and delighted for a while, and his expression was complicated. He was shocked by Chen Tian's strength, and at the same time he was afraid that he had fortunately not done anything to offend the latter just now. Otherwise, he will fall into the same monster as he will be torn by hand. Furthermore, Kim also had some expectation and joy. He felt that after doing everything with all his heart, Chen Tian would definitely keep his promise. Time passes slowly, the night was getting deeper and darker, and it was dark outside. The whole of Washington fell silent, except for a few buildings shimmering. And SHIELD 3 curved wing building is still brightly lit. All up and down are in operation at all times. Inside the director's office, Nick Fury sat solemnly in his chair and looked at the TV hanging in front of him. It is broadcasting the horror of the back of New York City at 8 o'clock tonight. Two big men fought fiercely in the street. In the end, the mysterious man made a move, and everything was stopped. However, the man's name was not officially disclosed. Then, knocking is knocked one by one. Agent Hill with short hair and a tall figure, and Natasha, a black widow with bumpy lines, and Hawkeye Clint. Barton walked in one after another. Everything started to get worse and worse. Nick Fury turned off the TV slightly calmly. Tonight Chen Tian is making a move under the public, and it will not be long before someone knows that there is a dangerous mutant in New York City. Agent Hill took a deep breath, his blue eyes shining with seriousness. By that time, the whole of New York City will be in a panic. Quote. Natasha on the side tilted her head. Chen Tian said that as long as you don't mess with him easily, there will be no trouble. But Coulson died, at the hands of that damn mutant. Nick Fury looked at Natasha and narrowed her eyes. When Natasha heard this, she sighed against the other party's gaze, and said helplessly, so his task, who gave the order? Quote. Anyway, now we SHIELD have been forced to stand on the opposite side of Chen Tian. No one wanted to see that happen. Chapter 1 Previous Chapter 81 186 Next chapter.